Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
And remember, everybody, the Zimmer era is over. One crazy Zimmer, it's gone. We have a young, square-jawed, offensive head coach who is going to unleash hell across that field turf in US Bank Stadium. And just be ready, everybody, because I know he can't win in prime time. He's ready. He's got his Creed playlist. He's got 5,000 yards, and Kirk Cousins MVP would be absolutely incredible.
We got to get him back on.
He's great, man. He's a friend
We
of
got
the
to get
show.
him back on. He's fantastic.
I think so. So Kyle Brandt, he had Kirk when Kirk said the "If I die, I die" thing 2 years ago. That was on Kyle Brandt's 10 Questions podcast.
Yeah.
I think those guys might be. I think those guys are buddies. I think he might be standing up for his buddy Kirk there on Good Morning Football. Yeah,
I agree.
So let's dive into it. I mean, he broached it, and they're throwing topics around. It's the off season. They're slinging stuff around. But it's not the first time that Dark Horse MVP has been put on the same line as Kirk Cousins. This is Purple Daily, Dark Horse MVP of the Vikings podcast community, maybe? Sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die, and the show is presented by our friends at Surly Brewing Company and also TCL. No matter what you watch, TCL has award-winning TVs for any budget, any space, all with stunning picture quality. They offer mobile products, audio devices, home appliances as well. TCL, bringing you joy and simplicity through innovative technology. Learn more at TCL.com. So, I figure let's is Kyle Brandt onto something here? Kirk Cousins, Dark Horse MVP candidate. There's a few websites out in the desert in Las Vegas posting some odds here. VegasInsider.com has these MVP odds, all right? Josh Allen is the favorite. He is a plus 700, which is 7-1. I don't know why they still list it like this. Let's make it easier for people to digest. A plus 700.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I know what that means, but it is confusing.
Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers are 8-1, followed by Tom Brady, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Derrick Henry, Derek Carr, Jonathan Taylor, Cooper Kupp, Jalen Hurts, Trey Lance, and Kirk Cousins tied for 18th.
Wow.
Trey Lance?
Derrick Henry?
I'm not going to sit here and stump for Kirk Cousins to be above Josh Allen.
Yep.
But tied with Trey Lance? That's bulletin board material, I feel like, for the fourth quarter Pharaoh.
I believe on this show a month ago or so that we talked about this just in passing, and I said that Kirk Cousins, with all of the things that he is going to be presented with opportunity-wise, should be an MVP candidate. And I think you guys might have laughed in my face, which is very
I probably
hurtful.
laughed.
Somebody laughed at me. I forget
laughed
who.
at you.
I probably laughed, and I'm probably going to laugh again today, and I'll explain why.
Okay.
But continue.
But that being said, I love this, and I think Kyle Brandt, in all honesty, if he is indeed friends with Kirk Cousins, which, by the way, I think is probably correct, is putting pressure on Kirk. He's putting steam on Kirk that Kirk don't want. But the reality is this: if Kirk Cousins is as good as many people think, and I think it's fair to say it's not a majority, but it's many people who love Kirk and think Kirk is really good, and statistically Kirk has been good, I think that this expectation is very fair. When I look at what Kirk has, when I look at Justin Jefferson, Thielen, assuming he can stay on the field in 2022, when I look in the backfield and I see Dalvin Cook, when I look at tight end and potentially see Irv Smith, the offensive line, as far as I'm concerned, if Bradbury starts on opening day, the questions are, and I don't like Garrett personally, but if this administration deems that Garrett Bradbury can start at center, I think the questions there are, or the excuses there are gone. Like, they are saying this is good enough for Kirk. Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah have Kirk Cousins' best interests in mind. Like, they are not Zimmer. They are not a warring faction of defense against offense. And so do I think that at the end of the day, at the end of the 2022 campaign, when we have the week, I believe the night before the Super Bowl, the award show on CBS, and they are.
Is it on CBS?
It used to be. I think it's now on something
Right,
else. But anyway,
or something, yeah.
it just sounded good because I love CBS. Do I think that Kirk Cousins is going to be called up to the lectern and have a acceptance speech for MVP of the National Football League 2022 Year of Our Lord written? No, I don't. But I think that he should be a top 5 guy. Yeah. Do I think he will be personally? No. But if you look, Kirk Cousins will never get a better opportunity in his life to prove all of us wrong. As far as what he can achieve than this season.
Okay, I think I see what's happening here. Let's start with Kyle Brandt. I think Kyle Brandt legitimately believes that Kirk Cousins can be a dark horse MVP candidate, whatever that even means, right? Like we should almost define, okay, what is that? So you got your Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes bin, and then you got your old gunslinger bin of, whatever it is, 8 combined MVPs between Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. I think it's 7. I think Rodgers has 4, and doesn't Brady have 3? And
Sounds
Justin
right.
Herbert and Joe Burrow. So okay, that's 6 right there. Mm-hmm. And Matthew Stafford, and he's on this list. Mm-hmm. So to be a dark horse MVP candidate, does that mean that you have to be a finalist? Does it mean that you have to be talked about halfway through the season? Let's put some parameters on this real quick, and then I'll continue.
It means approximately 8 to 9 weeks in that your name is now being bandied about as having an outstanding year. It doesn't mean that you're going to get the award.
Peter King, in his 3rd section of his Monday recap of Week 8, is going to float it as a notion.
It means when ESPN does its 79th charticle of the 2022 season and says, halfway mark, MVP candidates, comeback player of the year, best coach, that Kirk Cousins makes a list of probably, let's say, 5 guys. That's dark horse.
All right, so that sort of that ESPN listicle Week 9, Kirk Cousins is 5th on the list of 5. I think Kyle Brandt genuinely, truly believes in Kirk Cousins to be on that list. I think you are commentating in bad faith. I think what you're doing is you are trying to write, look at Kyle Brandt. Look at what Kyle Brandt's. This is great. Yeah, Kirk Cousins. Look at all these weapons. The offensive line is better. And you are now setting Kirk Cousins up to be a top 5 quarterback in the league, which is something that he really has never come close to being at any point.
Correct.
And so you're doing the classic prop Kirk Cousins up. Look at this. This is going to be great. Kirk should be this. Knowing full well in your heart, you just said it, you don't think he's going to be in that conversation at the end of the season. So this is where I'm going back and forth on it. Is dark horse MVP a fair standard for Kirk Cousins in 2000? Let's say it's top 5 MVP candidate. Let's just call it that for the sake of quantifying it.
Sure.
Is that a fair standard for Kirk Cousins, knowing what we know about his career in 2022? And I don't think it is. But when you start to look at, this is a salary cap league, and he is, even after redoing his contract, is the 3rd highest paid player in the NFL relative to the salary cap. Mm-hmm. Shouldn't you be expecting something close to a top 5 player in the NFL? So, and this is where everyone, why are you so down on the Vikings? I'm not down on the Vikings. I'm realistic about the Vikings. They are overpaying for their quarterback, and it makes it harder to build the rest of their team. So this is, I'm back and forth on this. I don't think he's going to be in that actual conversation at the end of the season, despite all the coach and the weapons and everything. Okay. But I think he should be held to a certain standard.
Right.
But I know that standard is not realistic. And I keep going round and round in my mind about this conflict.
I'll say this about Kirk. When it comes to Kirk, as far as I'm concerned, with O'Connell now and a new executive staff here, I have cleared the mechanism when it comes to Kirk. Judd and Kirk are new. They're a new couple. We've gone to marriage counseling. We've gone to quarterback counseling.
Highly underrated Kevin Costner baseball movie there.
Yeah, I just love it again. That good. Bull Durham's fantastic. But anyway, here's how I feel about it. And I'm being genuinely serious here. This is not said with malice. This is not said with I hope he fails. But we have seen enough of Kirk to know that there is an ability there that we've seen at times, certainly not consistently, that he can do some special things. Like, there's no question about it. He can make plays that a lot of quarterbacks can't. And his failure to do so consistently, we have been told, is about coaching. We've been told,
or offensive line, yeah,
or offensive line play. But there's always an excuse. There's always the but he couldn't. How can you expect this? I'm looking at a general manager now, and I'm looking at a coach and an offensive staff that is going to do everything in their power, again, in good faith. So there's no malice here from them. They're not like, we're going to show you Kirk sucks. They signed him to an extension. They clearly, Kevin O'Connell said, I can get more from him, which, again, more power to you. So I say this with good faith. Why is what Kyle Brandt said, while I don't personally, as Judd Zolgad, think it's going to take place, if we are wrong, like, and the hope of the show, this is going to sound really weird, the hope of what we're doing right now, because we do want the Vikings, like if the Vikings go to a Super Bowl, Purple Daily is ecstatic. Our numbers go through the roof. There's no downside to it. Oh, we were proven wrong. Oh, no. So if they can get from Kirk Cousins what they think that they can, he is a dark horse MVP candidate, and it's a good thing for everybody, and I will happily eat crow at that point.
Well, I'm glad you brought up trip to the Super Bowl here in this conversation, because I don't think people understand what they're asking when they throw out dark horse MVP, or boy, if this and this go right, then he can compete with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers for the MVP, or see a Matt Ryan or Matt Ryan's a good example too from 6 years ago, but a Matt Stafford like elevation. So I spent some time earlier this morning just kind of curious, what does an MVP quarterback profile look like? What do you need to do individually, and what does your team need to look like from a success standpoint for you to actually be the MVP of the NFL? And I went back and looked at the last 9 MVPs. So all of the MVPs since Adrian Peterson won it in 2012 have been quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers is on there 3 different times. Tom Brady's on there, I think, once. You got a Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson, Matt Ryan popped up. Patrick Mahomes, if I didn't say him. So let's start with team success. You can't just have a pretty good season yourself and your team goes 8-9 and then you won the MVP. Sometimes that happens in baseball where, Mike Trout wins the MVP because he's freaking Mike Trout and the Angels suck. But in football, the MVP winner isn't just a good player on a bad team. The whole thing has to come together. And so over the last 9 years, the average NFL MVP's team is 13-3. So here are the last 9 win-loss totals. 13-3, well, actually 13-4 last year for the Packers. 13-3, 14-2, 12-4, 13-3, 11-5. I believe that was the Matt Ryan year. 15-1 was the Cam Newton year. 12-4, 13-3. So an average team record of 13-3 for the last 9 NFL MVPs. Okay. Kirk Cousins' average season, not just on him, but over the course of 7 years, he's had some good defenses, some bad defenses. He's had some great weapons, mostly 8-8, and never more than 10. So the team jump, and I'm not putting it all on Kirk, but the team jump would have to go from 8 wins, his max is 10, to something more like 12, 13, 14-ish, 15 wins. And then you'd become maybe a number 1 seed in your conference, right? Like that's the type of team they would have to have this year for him to be in that conversation. Let's start there. How realistic does that sound? If things go well, could you see this team winning 13 or 14 games? Because that's the only way he's going to actually be in the real MVP conversation.
Personally, I don't see them doing that. But the thing is, they do, and that's what's important. So like they are running this back in large part in some ways, including with Kirk especially, right? Because they do. And also, I think it's important to clarify, we are talking I believe, about MVP candidates, dark horse. So like, Favre 2009, candidate for sure, didn't win it, but like I'm even talking about pushing Kirk towards that, if that makes sense. So like, let's say he doesn't win it, but does he finish in the top 3, in the top 5? But just to be very clear, What I think is going to take place with Kirk and this team is different than what they do, but I think it's interesting to try and look at it through the prism of what the Vikings think.
Well, and even though 2009 Brett Favre, who won it that year? Was that a Peyton Manning year?
I think it was Peyton Manning, right? With the Colts?
Yeah. Trying to think. Well, who won? Or maybe was that Drew Brees? Did Drew Brees get one? It would have been a Drew Brees year.
I'll look.
But anyways, that was a 12-win team. That was a 12-win Vikings team.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's 2 more wins than any Kirk Cousins team has ever had, and it's 4 more wins than the average Kirk Cousins team, just to be in that conversation. Here's another one for you guys. There's a million different stats you can look at, but in terms of your own individual performance, you've had, of the last 9 MVPs, you've had some guys who've led the league in yards, some guys have led the league in yards per attempt, and traditional passer rating, and different touchdown passes, different things like that. But the one that stood out to me was QBR. So ESPN's QBR puts your performance into context. It's not just like back of the football card stats and yards. It's if it's 3rd and 15 and you throw a 12-yard completion, you don't get very much credit. But if you throw a 16-yard completion, you do, right? It's all about efficiency and effectiveness. 8 of the last 9 MVPs have finished 1st or 2nd in the NFL in QBR. The only outlier was Cam Newton in 2015. He was like, I want to say 10th in QBR, but he ran for 600 yards and 10 touchdowns and was just brought a totally different dynamic to the position than obviously what Kirk Cousins is going to bring. Sure. So 8 of the last 9 MVPs have finished 1st or 2nd in QBR. Here are Kirk Cousins' QBR ranks the last 5 years. 16th, 15th, 13th, 18th, 15th. So, okay, one of the top 15 quarterbacks in the world, and that's fine. He would have to make a jump. And I will say his first 2 years as a starter in Washington, he was 6th. Okay. So those were his 2 best years for QBR, but that was 2015 and 16. That was kind of a lifetime ago. Can he jump from 15th to 2nd, from 15th to 1st with a better scheme, a better head coach, an improved offensive line, weapons stay healthy? That's the ask. You're not going to win the MVP as a pocket passer who doesn't log 10 rushing touchdowns with the 15th or even 10th or even 7th best QBR.
I think he can get inside. If the adjustments that the Vikings are going to make offensively, which we expect to be damn near huge, if they are successful, I think Kirk Cousins, if what we're told about him is correct, can get in the top 8. And again, I think that makes you a candidate. To be clear, I'm not really thinking he's going to win this thing, but I am thinking that the Vikings feel that they have a quarterback who they think that they can trick up to be in contention. So I think that's the difference.
I'm going to give you this too because I've got it open. And you said, if he can get into like the top 7 in QBR, then he's at least he's a dark horse, right? He's sort of in the conversation. Here are the top 7 QBRs from last season in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers was number 1. He won the MVP. Tom Brady was number 2. I think he finished runner-up for the MVP. Justin Herbert was 3rd. Matt Stafford was 4th. Patrick Mahomes 5th. Josh Allen 6th. Kyler Murray was 7th. He built up a lot of that equity early in the season. It was great. And Kirk Cousins, like I said, was 15th. But that's an interesting list, right? Aaron Rodgers, definitely. Tom Brady, they were the finalists. And then you would say Justin Herbert, Matthew Stafford, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray were all sort of dark horse or fringe MVP guys. Right. So that is a good bar. Can you jump from 15th to like 6th or 7th or somewhere in there, or 8th in QBR?
And don't you guys think that if you were to fill up KOC with truth serum and say, tell me what you think, don't you think that his response would be, I'm definitely banking on the fact that I can help do that?
Yes.
Like, I really think he would say, yes, absolutely. Because why else do you bring Kirk back? Why do you trust in? I mean, they have a level of trust in Kirk that we on this show clearly don't, which is fine. But yeah, I think that they see this very optimistically.
Yeah, listen, I'm open to it. I think I'm more open to it than you are. Just sort of now that
I'm willing
now that
to
the off season has played out the way that they've drawn it up. All right, let's see. You're going to be out at practice again today. We'll see how things are progressing.
Phil. I think we're in lockstep right now. Because until now, do I personally, in my jaded brain, expect it? No, I don't. But I'm open to seeing what these changes bring. And I will say this. I do think that O'Connell's ability to call plays, which I hope for his sake goes well. But his ability to call plays, if it's as good as we think it can be, is going to open up the opportunities for Cousins to have things presented to him that he has not. The fact that Justin Jefferson can play the Cooper Kupp role, and in my opinion is a more talented player, could be lethal.
Yeah. There is a third category here of, or if you're looking, what needs to align to fit the profile of an NFL MVP here. But here's the best part about some of these debates. There are fun ways to put your money where your mouth is. Underdog Fantasy is one of those ways. We have discovered the best and easiest way to play fantasy sports and get a sweat on games. And as you look ahead to the football season, so first of all, they do have season-long drafts, which involve no waivers, trades, no lineup setting. It's just the easiest way if you don't want to worry about, I'm at brunch and I got to figure out if so-and-so is starting. They will set your lineup for you on Underdog just based on the highest scoring players after the games are played. But the pick'em games where you can pick over-unders, you can fade different players, you can win up to 20 times your money in one night if you think that your dark horse MVP candidate is going to go over a certain amount of yardage, so to speak. You can put your money where your mouth is. It's so easy. Judd Zulgad can use it. UnderdogFantasy.com and the Underdog Fantasy. Look at him. He's on there right now.
Over-unders right now.
A little hockey tonight.
2 games.
Sign up now. You can help us out, too. If you sign up now, use the promo code SCORE, S-K-O-R, and Underdog Fantasy will double your first deposit up to $100 in bonus cash. Dex, tell everyone, too, about your favorite place to walk around 18 holes, the Meadows.
Oh, that's the Meadows at Mystic Lake, an award-winning 18-hole public golf course. It's just located in Prior Lake, just a little drive down 169 from the Twin Cities here, and it features a full-service golf shop too, top-of-the-line of equipment and apparel. I like to look good when I golf. Judd was giving me crap that he says a small shirt looks a little baggy on me. Well, I'm looking damn good on the course while Judd's wearing another hoodie, okay? So I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay when I'm on the golf course. And go down there, check out. It's not just your rinky-dinky, like, there's a couple ball sleeves and maybe a hat. No, this is a full service and full selection of apparel and whatnot. golfthemeadows.com to book your tee time and learn more. golfthemeadows.com.
All right, category number 3 here. You want to fit the profile of a dark horse or, I think more importantly, an actual MVP.
You like that? You like that?
And I will preface this one by saying I know that the voting takes place before the playoffs. Postseason results do not factor into who becomes the MVP. You could argue maybe they should. Maybe we should wait to see, Aaron Rodgers faded again against the San Francisco 49ers. Maybe he shouldn't be the MVP. But postseason results. Let's look at the postseason results of the last 9 MVPs and their teams just to see sort of, okay, what can you expect if you have a quarterback of that caliber? 11-9 record in the postseason, so 0 Super Bowl champions. They've all been bounced over the last 9 years. I think you have to go back way further than that to find an MVP who actually won the Super Bowl. It's been a while.
Wow.
But 11 postseason wins in the last 9 years. 4 out of the 9 quarterbacks went to the Super Bowl. 7 out of the 9 quarterbacks went to the conference championship game. So they're almost all getting to the doorstep of the Super Bowl and then see what happens in the conference championship game. Kirk Cousins' teams have been to the playoffs twice in 7 years as a starter, going back to Washington and Minnesota. And the team record is 1-2 in those 3 playoff games over 2 years with no trips to the conference title game. So again, he would have to, let's go through these categories. And some of this is team results too, but the team would have to go from an average of 8 wins with Kirk Cousins as a starter to something closer to 13 if you want to win the MVP.
Right.
He'd have to go from being 16th, 15th, 13th, 18th, 15th in QBR to something much closer to first or second. And then even though this doesn't factor into the voting, the team would have to be good enough to probably win a playoff game, get a first-round bye, win a playoff game, and then play in the conference championship game or better. That's what it looks like if you actually are an MVP in the NFL.
Dex, your thoughts? I've been babbling.
I just don't think he can make that big enough jump to be in that conversation that involves Herbert, that involves Mahomes, that involves Josh Allen. Look, the infrastructure, it kind of sounds like a broken record. I know we have a coach that's leaning into him, but how many times has Kirk Cousins had the infrastructure around him that he has right now? He's had great receivers. He's had at one time a decent line in Washington. He's had good running backs behind him. So I guess if the X factor is the coach, and hey, that is a big factor that maybe we've been sleeping on the last 5 years, and that's why he hasn't taken that next step. I know that's Ben Lieberset was saying the same thing yesterday when I tweeted out that video of Kyle Brandt with we played off the top, saying it's not that outlandish to call him an MVP candidate now that he has a coach that is leaning in to him. But I feel like we've been having that same conversation with Kirk of, well, if all these weapons are right, he should be. All the weapons have been there for him. So if the coach is the last piece, great. But I just think it's a little far-fetched to assume the coach is that last thing that takes him from that middle-tier quarterback to being an elite quarterback.
Quick side note. So Ben Lieber, I feel like there's a bin of, I don't know if you want to call it radio hosts or analysts or media members in the Twin Cities that defended Mike Zimmer to the very end and called people foolish for suggesting that the Vikings should move on from Mike Zimmer. And now that bin of analysts or hosts or whatever it is are like could not be further bailed on Mike Zimmer, right? Just like, oh, that guy was a cancer. Now that you got a real coach in here, as Kyle Brandt called him out the top, a steel-jawed, offensive-minded coach. Defend, and then when the team cuts bait, oh, that guy was a cancer.
That's what Sid did. Okay. Sid, Tice is not being fired. He's fired? It wasn't that good anyway.
Forget him.
Terrible. Guy was a buffoon.
Yep. Not surprising at all. Well, you know what? I am willing to, so to be clear, my stance is this. Dark horse MVP candidate. I am willing to go there. Do I think he's going to win it? To be very clear, again, no, I don't. Do I think that he has the ability, especially if what I'm told is true, to put up a season that would at least have him in a conversation, which we've had 1,000 times about guys. Oh my God, he's playing well, MVP candidate. They don't win it, but I do think that it is realistic to expect Kirk Cousins to be in that bin. Do I think at the end of the day he gets it? No, I don't. But why not with the offense? Like when you look at the skill position players that this team has, right? I guess my question is this: why not? Like, why can't he be a dark horse? That literally means, again, you put together your listicle in November and say, hey, here are guys who are having great seasons. Bang, 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 bang.
We should have a list of acceptable websites. What if it's a Bleacher Report, photo gallery list in November? Does that rise to the level? Okay.
Yeah. I think. Well, I also think.
And he's 8th on the list.
We talk about it.
Okay. Some guy named Jared who wrote the article.
We're easy. Yeah. We're easy. But I mean it. But if you were to say, Phil, do you expect him to be the MVP? My response is no, I don't. But I don't think it's out of bounds with what we're being told as far as what they're doing for Kirk, and then seeing what Kirk is going to have with what he's paid, his experience, and basically always having been told as a show, you guys don't get what he doesn't have. I don't see why it's out of bounds to expect that he could make that type of list.
I'm going to ask one more thing on this, and then we'll get to what are people saying about the Vikings. If you took last year's list of the top QBRs in order, and you plopped any one of these guys into the current Vikings car, just Kevin O'Connell, the offensive line upgrades, everything, would you be calling them MVP candidates? And I think the answer is unequivocally yes, right? Aaron Rodgers, if Aaron Rodgers supplanted Kirk Cousins and sat in the driver's seat of this car, you'd be saying, oh man, this is going to be a 12 or 13 win team, right? Tom Brady. Those guys are obvious.
Right.
Justin Herbert. I would say if you swapped out Justin Herbert in for Kirk Cousins, people would be talking about the Vikings as the clear-cut division favorites. I think the over-under would go from 8.5 to something closer to 10 in Vegas. Matthew Stafford. I know a lot of Vikings fans think that Kirk Cousins and Matthew Stafford are just the same thing, and I think Matthew Stafford showed you last year. Okay, he actually the best version of Cousins is still a theory at age 34.
Right.
The best version of Matthew Stafford has been realized. Mm-hmm. He did it. He performed at that level. He won a Super Bowl. He did it in the playoffs against some of the best teams and best opposing quarterbacks, right? So the best version of Stafford is no longer just a concept or a theory. We need to see the theory of Kirk Cousins become a reality at some point.
Correct.
It's a myth until it becomes a reality.
But I mean, this is his chance, right?
This is his best chance to this point.
This is going to be his best chance. And if guys do not, including him, get hurt, he will never have a better opportunity than he will this year. And so I'm just curious if what the Vikings think and are banking on can be true. But they're banking on exactly what you just said being true, which is we have the ability to take a theory and execute it.
Yep. All right, boys. What are people saying about the Minnesota Vikings? Peter King NBC edition. That's right.
Football is
Monday morning quarterback.
Mini camps are next month.
Over at
Football.
profootballtalk.com, we've got an epic, 10,000 word Peter King article. He's not calling it Monday morning quarterback anymore, right? Because SI.com had the intellectual property to that.
I believe Albert Breer is now the
Okay.
MNQB.
So they just took what Peter King had that for like 20 years, I think,
Yeah.
and they just gave it to somebody else. So this is called Peter King's Football Morning in America. That's right. And he has power rankings. Where do the Vikings sit during this offseason camp period? I have not gone through this yet. We are experiencing this Peter King power ranking all together for the first time.
I cheated.
Oh, you did look.
I know where the Vikings are.
Okay.
But I'm not saying anything.
He's got the Buffalo Bills number 1.
Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
He's got the Chargers number 2. I love the Chargers this year.
Interesting.
Brandon Staley's got
seems a little
I got to see
high.
what
Yeah,
Brandon Staley does.
I fired him twice on Purple Daily.
he got-
Declan fires the coaches, okay?
He was the definition of over his skis at times
Yeah.
as a rookie head coach.
I like the aggressiveness. I like just going for it on every
I-
fourth down, even when it makes no sense.
I like
There's
when
a
you're
degree.
smart.
Yeah, there's a degree.
Number
I like
3,
smart people.
Kansas City. Number 4, the Rams. Okay. Number 5, the Packers. Is that too high?
You know what? Again, until they prove they can't be that team. Seriously, man, I said last year they're falling apart. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah. How many times did Aaron Rodgers, and going back even further, did Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers lost so many receivers? Right? Oh my God, what's he gonna do? Greg Jennings is gone. Oh my God, Jordy Nelson's gone.
Yes.
They just always make someone
can't
else a
do it.
bunch of money. Tampa Bay, number 6. Cincinnati, number 7. Baltimore, 8. Philadelphia, 9. Peter King, high on the Eagles.
Not sure about that one.
Number 10, San Francisco.
Yep.
11, New Orleans.
Okay, no.
That's I'm
Woof.
Team Dax on this one.
Well, Michael Thomas is coming back, right? They drafted Chris Olave,
Yeah, and Jameis Winston's coming back.
Jarvis Landry. Jameis Winston was very good before he got hurt last year.
Sean Payton being gone is going to be a sneaky big deal.
I feel like it should just be a big deal. I mean, he's one of the great coaches.
Right, but I think we're just like, well, it's the Saints, and they've been good. Nah, I think it's going to be a big deal.
Okay, we're on to 12 here. So Tennessee Titans, Las Vegas Raiders 13, Denver Broncos 14.
So they're the 4th team.
He's got them
in
as the
AFC
last
West?
team in the division. Yeah.
Wow.
Is Las Vegas?
What's up with Peter King?
Josh McDaniels still might be a moron for all we know. I don't
not
think
a
he's
good guy.
considering the coaches.
He's not a good guy.
I don't think he's a good guy. I think he's a good offensive mind.
Yeah, I think he's a jerk.
I think he's
Now, he was a jerk. The
yeah, I
question
think
is,
he's a D-head.
can he not be a jerk?
Yeah.
15 Dallas. Wow, we're getting
Ooh,
into
that might get Mike McCarthy fired right there.
He's gonna
Well,
be,
they would be not in the playoffs, right? They would be just outside the playoffs.
Just outside the play. That would be a big
Which means Peter King, we have not gotten to the Vikings yet, but he has the Vikings as not a playoff team in 2022.
Yeah, that's actually probably fair until proven otherwise.
Miami 16, New England 17, Cleveland 18, Vikings at 19.
Oh, hold on. Let's sing about it. Peter King does not like the Vikings. The
He
Vikings
likes other
are
teams
not
that
a
are worse than the
playoff team.
Vikings.
Why does he like the Saints? Mom and Dad, it's not fair to me.
He's got the Lions 20th right behind the Vikings. So he basically has those two teams in lockstep. All right, here's the write-up. There's some fresh air over the Vikings with the firing of Mike Zimmer. Some fresh offensive air.
That's
Yes.
air freshener they're squirting because someone. Okay, keep going.
There's more eye contact in the hallways. Peter King continues, lots of players found Zimmer too negative at the end of his reign. Despite having above-average talent over the past 4 years, including Kirk Cousins, the The Vikings have been just 33-31-1 in the regular season since Cousins arrived. Yada, yada, yada. The defense was bad. That was Zimmer's area of expertise, of course. Now the head coach is a sunny offensive guy, Kevin O'Connell, with a veteran running the defense in Ed Donatel. He's run a 3-4 recently, but promises to meld 3-4 and 4-man fronts.
Football.
Hold on a second. 3-4 and 4-man fronts. Football. That's right. Okay, either way, two defensive imports, Harrison Phillips and Zadarius Smith, should play big roles if the Donatel system is going to get the Vikings back to playing quality defense. Okay. But, okay. So there's no hammer? There's no but? Why are they a failure? He's got them 19th. And he just beat, like, the write-up sounds like, oh, this is great. Zimmer's gone, and now everything's great again. Multiple looks on defense and an offense. He called him a sunny, offensive-minded head coach. I need more from Peter here. I need the why.
I'd love to ask him, but he quit returning my texts about 5 years or 8 years back. So I can't
oh,
tell
really?
you. Yeah. He started ghosting me, and he never got back to me.
I accidentally threw him a nasty elbow in the Vikings locker room after the Minneapolis Miracle. I was walking behind me, and by the way, like, I'm a bony dude, as you guys know. I'm very scrawny. So, like, that's an elbow. Like, if you catch an elbow from me, like, that's
why
gonna
are you
sting
just
a little bit
flailing
more.
your elbows in
I
the
didn't
middle of the
mean
press
to.
box?
I literally it was a packed. It was a packed, as we know. It was as packed as I've ever seen that locker room after the most dramatic win in team history potentially.
Right,
and I moved backwards like this, and I caught
so
him
you
right
got
in the
excited
chest.
and started just to, like, hit people with
I
elbows.
just tried to back up, and as I backed up, I
Wait.
Larry David my way behind him.
So you're saying when the touchdown was scored, you got so excited you almost knocked Peter King out?
No. I was in the locker room after the Minneapolis Miracle. So in the locker room, looking for a player interview. And as I finished the player interview, as I got out of a scrum, I went like this, and I caught Peter King right in the chest with my bony elbow.
You need to have better elbow awareness in media scrums.
I do.
Yeah,
This was 5 years
small
ago.
spaces
Okay,
here,
so
man.
yes, it was some time.
This is probably why he found out you were
Right, is why he
associated
talks
with
to us.
me, and he
Yeah.
ghosted me.
Yeah,
You know, sometimes when you need to mend a relationship, you can just do it over beers, Judd. Maybe you just need to invite Peter King to the Surly Brew Hall.
It's funny you say that, Phil, because last night I was at the Twins game in the press box, and my friend Declan Goff, sitting alone in the stands, said, "Come down and join me. I'll treat you to a Surly." And Declan was kind enough to buy me a Furious, and a Chip Scoggins endorsed too, right, Dex? The tall can.
Boy.
Love the tall boy. I got
love
the
it.
glass. I poured it in the glass. It was absolutely delicious. Went down with Dex, watched a little baseball. So you're right. Dex and I bonded. In fact, I feel that my sports son and I are closer today. And how were we brought there? Not by baseball, but more by Surly Furious. Thank you, Surly Brewing, for mending a relationship that was on the rocks until last night.
And now that you guys have a great relationship, maybe you can start a business together and work with Federated. That's what, Federated's all about, these principles: equity, integrity, teamwork, and respect. Those are the four cornerstones that create the foundation that supports all interactions and decision-making from Federated, which has been around for over 100 years, based in Owatonna. And they are all about maximizing the success of your business through risk management tools and resources. Federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. Just for fun here, the bottom of this Peter King power ranking, he's got the Houston Texans 32nd. He's got the Carolina Panthers 31st. Probably firing everyone and looking for a new quarterback in the draft, right?
By Matt Rule.
Atlanta 30th, Jacksonville 29th, and the Chicago Bears 28th. The Jets moving up to 27. Not bad.
Hey,
Those are the bottom teams in the NFL, according to Peter King.
Dex told me we did on 4-question Friday, Phil, when you were gone, we did the teams that we thought might surprise the most. And I believe Dex went with the Jets.
I did take the Jets.
And I think that's an interesting one. Like the
PFF
Jets
had a similar thing yesterday, too.
The Jets could be. I'm not saying they're going to be
I said it
good, but
first.
they could surprise.
You guys are like, I don't know.
It's not my opinion. I'm just saying
They're
this. I've not
pretty
heard
crappy
this.
still.
Yeah.
Well, when you say they could surprise, do you mean like, they might win
I mean, they might-
games.
they might be a dark horse playoff contender?
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly. Mid-season, when a listicle is done by somebody somewhere, surprise teams of 2022. What I'm saying is the Jets. My pick, the Jaguars.
I I think that's
My
Yeah,
pick,
competent coach,
probably the easiest one. Yeah.
star young quarterback. The people are.
we agree.
People get so weird after what. Remember what people thought about Josh Allen after the first year, including us. We kind of mocked that Stephon Diggs trade. Oh, have fun climbing the ladder for those Josh Allen passes. Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
And then he became
wrong.
one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So, anywho, all right, you're going to be out. We got to get going here because Judd's going to be out at Vikings practice for some more observations, OTA observations on tomorrow's show, along with Write That Down predictions.
And don't forget, too, on the Score North Twitter account, there will be actual highlights from an OTA posted by Declan Goff. So don't miss it.
And maybe on the TikTok account as Judd
Maybe on
continues
TikTok.
his
On the talk.
TikTok
I
momentum.
love the talk.
You love the talk.
In
You're
fact, you
big
know
on
what?
the talk.
I think I might go live on the talk.
There you go.
Go live on the talk.
Things that you would have had no idea what you're saying 5 years ago,
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
6 months ago.
Yeah.
All
I know I
right,
can go live on the
that's a wrap. Daily Vikings Entertainment, Purple Daily. See you guys tomorrow.